we've gotten some really good questions from the viewers, Justin. And so Justin hasn't been looking at the comments.
She shows me some.
I do.
I do not deal really well with online discourse.
You know he doesn't.
And so she shows me what I need to see.
He's actually the sensitive, soft one. I'm the evil gangster. And I also work online for a living, so I had to get over it. We got a question from a viewer asking what we do differently if we were going to full-time RV again right now.
Right now? It'd be financially disastrous right now.
Okay, so we just bought a house. We're a little house poor. But like, looking at it this way, we had a plan for how we picked our RV, what kind we picked, what we did for full-time RVing.
Yes.
Now, two things have changed that are not our financial situation. One is that we have the experience. We've actually done it.
Yes.
So we have the difference between expectation and reality all worked out.
Yes.
The other thing is how RVing has changed, or the economy or market conditions, or things that are beyond our personal circumstances. Like, for example, we'll get into this a little bit more in the video, but one example of this is that we bought a new RV rather than a used RV, because when we went shopping for RVs in 2022, 2023, the used market was upside down.
Oh, yeah, everything was upside down. Yeah.
It's actually, the used one was more expensive than the new one would have been,
Yes.
which was crazy. So
Now, I haven't looked at current used prices. The last time I looked, probably when we were house shopping, I think is when the last time I looked. But prices have been holding fairly steady still.
I'm going to look right now.
You're going to look right now? So if...
Yeah, they're still steady.
Yeah. So I would still be tempted if it was a decent quality. Now, I've heard everybody moaning about COVID level, like, fit and finish of everything. I don't know anything else. So that's not going to change very much. And the thing is, I've been in lots of fifth wheels. I've been in some buses, not very many. But I was talking to a guy in Huracan who had a brand new, beautiful Phaeton. Absolutely gorgeous. And you know what he had to do? He had to bring it in. I think he was in the shop for 3 months because the subframe for his slide cracked.
Oh, that was the nice old man that asked you about the bike.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that guy.
A beautiful new Class A that had a massive structural issue. We're not talking like side of the road fix. We're not talking Justin Kajiri rig it with some duct tape and, you know, some baling twine or something. Not going to happen. So things are just going to happen.
Yeah, and this wasn't during the post-COVID boom. This was like 2024.
It was after the boom and everything, and I think it had been built for him. So, you know, kind of surprising to me, but also very eye-opening, because it's just a problem everywhere. These are complex machines. As an engineer, they're fighting for what they have to do because they need to be lightweight, but you want them to hold up. And then, you know, they want them to be big and strong, but yeah, being big and strong means they're going to be heavy and not, you know, I mean, I was only getting about 12 miles a gallon to begin with. You know, what happens if it's 8 then, which is a whole other thing.
So yeah, so that was just an example.
Just an example.
So see how rich that was. There's so many things.
So there's so many things to consider. So what would I personally do? If I was out and looking again, depending on what the truck market was doing, or if I had a truck, I would probably take a bigger look at fifth wheels. Simply because knowing what I do now, it's a little bit easier to do things like customize a fifth wheel over like a Class C. There's a little bit more wiggle room with what you're doing. And some of the brands have had trouble with their stuff too, but I would probably take a little bit more of a look at that. Well,
and I know that if you have the engine in the removable bit in the truck, it's easier to get oil changes.
Maintenance on a Class C is horrendous.
Yeah.
When you're traveling around, because you never know who is going to be able to change your oil or look at your engine, things like that. Luckily, I could do some. I may have surreptitiously done an oil change or two in places I wasn't supposed to. But like for essentially the V8 Godzilla engine, and they put it in trucks. It's like you go down, it's maybe $50 or $60 to get the oil changed. I had to pay, I think it was almost $400 because I had to go to a heavy duty mechanic to have it looked at in the town that we were in.
That was in Southern Washington.
Yeah. There are some quick change places that'll do it, but I'll tell you what, I don't like to trust a lot of them. I don't know if I trust it with an RV. So it's a lot of that. So yeah, I would personally take a harder look at the fifth wheel.
But we didn't at the time because the truck market was insane.
Yes.
Like it was actually more for a truck, one that could pull a fifth wheel, than it would have been for our RV.
Yes.
So that was kind of one of the reasons we did that. Plus, it was easier for me to drive the Jeep.
Yep.
I haven't driven a lot of big things, so the Jeep was a lot easier than a big honking truck would have been. Yep. So that's another trade-off, because a big honking truck would have been tougher for me to drive. I mean, I could have just grown up and done it.
But yeah, it's just there's just different things.
Yeah.
There's also some other things going on. I don't even know if you know much about it, but the whole West Coast, they're trying to push emissions up. There was no carve out for RVs and things like that, and so new RVs might not be able to be sold in California and Oregon, and I think maybe even Washington here soon.
Okay.
So then you start to think about the used market there, and if you can bring things in, there's a whole other set of things to worry about there. So, but if you want a TLDR of that whole thing, the answer is not much. I actually wouldn't change, because I had a whole spreadsheet of new and used RVs. I was looking at the pros and cons. I would probably do the same thing and try to do what made sense for us. And if we had to sell the house and all that kind of stuff and get back on the road, we could probably still make this work. I could probably sell it and buy something different if I wanted a different experience.
We had a really good experience with our dealer in Texas.
Yep.
So really low haggle. Really nice, no hidden anything when we signed up for them, which was nice. Not the same for our Jeep. We had some scumbag people for our Jeep.
Yeah, and that's your dealership experience and your maintenance experience is going to color your whole outlook on everything.
Well, I think I did a video for them. I don't know if you saw the Camping World ruling about Oregon ruling against Camping World and stuff. So that's the kind of thing that's, even if you didn't buy from Camping World, the fact that there's starting to be some legal precedent on this, and it's starting to protect consumers who are, hit with those fees. There's at least some case to be made, for people.
Like I think I've said before, it's all very personal decisions about what you do and how you do it. I don't think it would change much, given what I've done. Like I said, I might look at a different class, given kind of where we are in our lives and things like that. But the Class C made sense for us then, still makes sense for us now with as a vacation rig.
No big regrets then?
Nope.
No. I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know. Like, even where we went, I mean, most of the RV parks were even good. There are a couple that were like, but then it was like always for a purpose. Like I did a video on the one that was near Zion we stayed at. That was the worst one we stayed at. And even that, like, it was worth doing it to go see Zion.
Yeah, that was just the surprise buddy spot. That's really all it really was.
Yeah. Which is
what it is.
Yeah. Well, you remember there were supposed to be cockroaches coming out of the pool and stuff. I didn't get to see a cockroach.
Yeah.
Spoiler. That was what I put in the thumbnail, though. You remember?
Yep. So talking about upgrades and things to rigs, we do have the battery bank. I think I reviewed that quickly. I did like it, and I still kind of like having the portableness of it. And the reason I mentioned even thinking about a fifth wheel is because those are a little bit easier to add battery systems to. There's just a little bit more room in the cargo areas and things. But the chaos around, and I knew this when I started, the chaos around it being a Kickstarter was just insane. I think we didn't get it until a year after we had funded it.
We had the wherewithal to get it sent to your folks.
Yes.
But then they had to get it sent to us, and it had to line up with us.
Yes.
But the company did throw in a couple of free solar panels.
Yes,
for the trouble.
For the trouble. Yep.
So, but yeah, that was like one of the things that, would you do that differently?
I might have just gone for a smaller known battery bank, given what we used it for and kind of how I've used it. What I was really looking for there was something I could just plug the whole rig into, and that actually ended up not being the case for this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to just power a few things, I would have gotten one of the smaller units that are more kind of like a lunchbox or a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah, it was kind of both too much and not enough for us.
Yes.
Like it was kind of like wrong sized for us and took forever. But it's still useful. We have it at the house.
Yeah, we still have it at the house. I still have the solar panels.
Yeah.
I don't know if we bring it on trips just because of the extra weight that it really adds. But yeah,
it'd be
it's
good
still
at a
useful.
power outage here.
Yeah, it'd be good at a power outage.
Yep. Wouldn't go to Margaritaville for a month.
Yeah, so there's some places we kind of stayed that were kind of semi-long term, like a month or so. Margaritaville down in Galveston.
Actually, it was Crystal Bay or something. Or no, Crystal Beach?
Crystal Beach, I think
Crystal Beach, yeah.
The area is absolutely beautiful. It was an okay deal for the area, but I think a combination of us getting sick and just it wasn't really geared towards us.
They had very good beach access.
Yeah.
Like it was a long, like very bumpy road. We had our e-bikes. It was really hard even getting down to the beach.
Yeah.
They were at least playing up the beachy vibes. I don't want to say they didn't make any like claims or anything. I'm not going to say that.
No, you drive through that particular park and it's only half finished. They were obviously planning to do a lot more there, and with the name, I think it might have been something that Margaritaville took over. Like there was a whole history behind it. Yeah,
because there was like a little place across the road and it was like almost primitive
Yeah.
by comparison, and those are probably been fine, honestly. So,
but yeah, it just didn't end up being what we wanted to for the premium we were paying.
yes, the employees were nice, but and less of them like having to keep taking the ferry into Galveston.
Yep.
That was a lot. So, but yeah, if that would have been fine for like a week. A month, it was kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there are many other places we kind of outstayed really. You know, I think we did a pretty good job kind of looping through
even
how we
that
wanted
one
to.
in Utah we didn't like. We liked going to Zion and visiting our friends in Vegas.
That was simply because that's what was available because it was a last minute
yeah,
Zion.
because I got a wild hair and I really wanted to go to Zion.
Yep.
So another thing is that Harvest Host was kind of a wash for us.
Mostly because of the fact that we really wanted to stay on grid. I love the experiences of it. I really do. The couple of wineries that we stayed at, I thought were really nice. The distillery that we visited, you know, just some things like that. But because I'm working most of the time on the road, it ended up kind of being just kind of a wash because you were never quite sure what the amenities were. Usually they're only for one night. So usually it was times that we were double hopping where we were driving somewhere and need to stay overnight and then go somewhere else.
Yeah, like instead of a KOA, we'd stay at like, you know.
Yeah, just
Harvest
for one
Host.
night.
Yeah.
But there are also a lot of them are out of the way.
They
so
were.
You're not going to be like near kind of a well-traveled area, even like state highways and things like that. Like one of the wineries, I went through basically a single lane dirt road to get up to, which it was still beautiful.
Oh yeah.
But you know, their electrics were kind of wonky. It was kind of just a grass pad in the middle of their field. Like,
and they were so sweet.
They were.
But like some of their systems were kind of old-fashioned, and the communication was just light enough that I didn't know if we were going to actually have the spot when we showed up, which was interesting for us because we were so used to online stuff where you get a confirmation and you have that information. It ended up being lovely, but it was difficult when we were planning.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they didn't respond to the Harvest Host thing. I think we eventually called them.
I think I ended up calling them. And they were lovely.
Yeah, they were like, oh no, yeah, we have you down for that night. You're great.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. Kind of laughing at me because I was so neurotic. But the thing is, I just didn't want to be homeless, you know, like for the night. I didn't want to have to.
Yeah, I mean, we could have found some place, but like this was in the middle of nowhere, Texas.
Yes.
So, you know,
we were around Tyler.
Yeah, so it would have been, you know, I think looking at the map, it was going to be several hours drive no matter what we did.
I mean, that's Texas, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a wash. Like, I think it's a good program, but you really should think about how much you're going to use it, right? Yeah. That's the major thing.
Yeah, I think we got that on one of the deals that they've had quite a bit of, and it was perfectly fine.
I guess we did like 3 or 4 because we did the bourbon distillery too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. In a couple of years. So we did like 3 or 4 in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So for us, we underutilized a little, but they were great experiences. So
you know, we might use it more this year. Maybe we'll go out to a couple of the local ones.
Oh yeah, because we're talking about doing short trips because we could just go and spend the night and then come back.
Yeah, especially if there's some wineries in the valley and stuff.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So as far as how things have changed since we were on the road, there's been some big staffing changes at the National Park Service.
Yeah. So I've just been reading more about some of the lines and the lack of staffing and things like that.
Yeah, what'd you read about Big Bend? Something about like a long backup at Big Bend?
Yeah, there's apparently some long backups in Big Bend, which was definitely a park that we visited.
Yeah.
Same with Yellowstone and things like that. They're predicting much longer lines and much reduced services and things like that.
I heard the Grand Canyon too.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would put a pretty big damper. I mean, we definitely got our usage of our yearly membership, the year pass.
America the Beautiful, I think.
Yeah, it's just whatever the yearly pass is.
Yeah.
We definitely got our money's worth out of that pass.
Yeah.
And so to kind of see that being cut, to see that being messed with, like, I would think twice about, you know, going there, just because a lot of these places are actually inherently dangerous, and having people to guide you through that is actually really important.
Yes, and also to kind of keep people reined in, like especially at Yellowstone, like the what do they call them, Taurons? Taurus moron?
Yeah.
I think it's Taurus plus moron is a Tauron. We saw some just harrowing stuff even there while they were fully staffed. I can't imagine how bad it would get.
Do not pet the bison.
Oh. Well, there's that one on the bridge.
Yeah.
He just walked right by our car. He was like staring at us.
Yeah, he was probably, you might be able to actually insert some video from it, because, you know, we're in a soft top Jeep and we have a, you know, big old male bison like about a foot or two away from us. I'm just like, okay, we're just not going to make eye contact.
It's like, move aside and let the man go through.
He was just doing what he does. But yeah, you know, it is disappointing. It probably would change my travel plans. I think around here we're actually planning on doing more of these state level things. Oregon has a pretty good park service there as well, and some of the more private campgrounds and stuff around lakes and stuff, because you know, it's just not going to be easy. And of course, everything can always change. This is not a news show.
Right,
so,
right.
Who knows what's going to
That would be nice if it changed tomorrow to be good again, though.
Better, yeah. Well,
that'd be great. We'll see. To be continued. So this is something that I personally wish I'd done differently, and that's that I wish that I'd learned how to film before we headed out on the road, because you guys didn't see the very beginning of the journey for a simple reason. I was having a hard time learning how to use the camera and how to video edit. I have some stuff on my phone. I've got photos and like the Yellowstone thing with the bison is going to be like a phone, like a reel that I posted. I wish that I had been filming around our apartment for 6 months or a year before I went out on the road and gotten used to it, so that I would have been doing it from the very beginning.
Yeah, because it's stressful learning a whole bunch of things at once.
Especially while you're trying to learn how to live that way and how to travel. Well, you're just saying learning a whole bunch of things at once. So I probably should have done that. I would do that differently. I'd say that if you're looking to travel full time in an RV and like have a YouTube channel, practice YouTubing before you start traveling, because it's really stressful and you don't get the channel launched.
One thing at a time.
Yeah. That's a very specific subset of our viewership. Is there anything else you'd really do differently?
No, I think that's it.
I had the best company in the world. Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Did you want to sign off this time?
Sure. Anyway, it's been great talking to you as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.